All right, gonna call the regular meeting of the Deep River Planning and Zoning Commission to order this Thursday, April 21st, 2022, at 7:00 p.m. Do the roll call. Mike Danello.
Here.
Jonathan Kastner. I did not see him. Alan Parody, we know he's on vacation. Stan Reinheimer.
Here.
Marion Stay.
Here, oh, here.
Alex Strobel.
I am here.
Fantastic. All right, and I know Christy is not here also. So I guess I will seat Mike Danello in the open regular person seat, and Alex, I will seat you for Christy Stroud. On to, there's no public hearing, acceptance of applications. If there's any new applications that come forward, I don't think so, because Steve would have mentioned it when we first signed in.
Yep.
So
Yep. We
nothing,
have two applications to receive.
just the ones that are farther on new business. I mean,
Oh, no, nothing else.
okay. All right, on to audience of citizens. All right, so just to be clear, this is the audience of citizens can address the commission for things that are not on the agenda. So if you have something else you want to talk to us about, now's the time to speak. If not, forever hold your peace.
Tony, can you hear me?
I can.
It's Fred Jordan here.
Hey, Fred, how's it going?
It's going pretty good. I just would like to address the commission, and I don't know how many of them are aware that I have put a letter into the selectmen of my desire to join you in the Planning and Zoning Commission. And I'm hoping that at the upcoming selectmen's meeting that will be approved, and I'd be looking forward to your support. I've been a longtime resident of Deep River, and I think I have a lot to contribute. I'm especially interested in the upcoming plan of conservation and development, and really would like to participate in that.
All right. So if you guys, Fred, when's the next meeting?
I think it's this coming Tuesday.
It's coming Tuesday. All right. All right, guys, if you're willing and able.
Anybody have any questions for me?
No, I mean, I personally spoke up at the last meeting. I think Fred would be a great addition to the zoning commission.
I hope you all attend the town meeting and give me some support.
All right. All right. With that being said, anybody else, audience of citizens? All right, hearing none. Moving on to approval of minutes, March 10th, 2022. I don't know if anybody had a chance to read them. I honestly did not. If you guys did, I will take your word for it. If not, we can bump them to next month. Your guys' call.
Motion to accept the minutes.
All right,
I'll second that. It was easy.
thank you. Who's left? Marion
Approve.
and Alex.
Yeah, I approve it.
Okay. All righty, fantastic. On to new business. Receipt of application for zone change 17 and 19 River Street from a village residential to village mixed use zone to allow a mixed use in an existing building at 19 River Street. Applicant M&M New Properties, care of Mark Marino. This, I believe, is just for acceptance and to set a public hearing. If that's all, if we're just looking for a motion.
Motion to accept to have a public hearing on the mixed use change.
And that's for May 19th. Looking for a second?
Second.
Thank you, Marion. Stan
Yes.
and Alex.
Yes.
All right, we'll see you guys on the 19th.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, cruising along to item B, site plan application, expansion of use at 169 Main Street. Addition of an outdoor patio, applicant Matthew Berry. And get your site plan up here. And you would just give us brief overview and.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. Matt Berry here, owner of 169 Main Street. I'm requesting to install just a small patio on the corner of the building here, just for kind of flexible use for my tenants. There's also various, town and community events that I've noticed go on over the, past couple of years. So, as things are going on, I'm open to it being used for various activities.
All right. Anybody have any questions?
Matt, what type of, you have a paver, what type of paver were you planning on using for that?
I'd like to do the same brick that the Main Street sidewalk is done with. So just the red brick. I also have some gray large pavers, so like 24 by 24 squares. Depending on how much material I can get together or find for the brick, I might do some of those gray pavers in the middle. So it'd kind of be gray in the middle and then outlined with the brick.
Okay.
And,
Go ahead, Mike.
yeah, I mean, I think having some continuity to the rest of downtown is certainly a plus. We don't want to have a lot of mixed use material, so it turns out.
Right.
Matt, one question that I did have or concern was, the ice cream parlor, you're going to put your plan is to put some picnic tables out there.
So I'd like that to be an option for Deep River Ice to do that. I think from my perspective, at least, it would be on any of my tenants to supply whatever things they might want to use out there. So in the Deep River Ice's case, they would supply picnic tables. They would be temporary, movable, foldable, site furniture.
So I'd like to ask a question, actually. So I'm just looking at the overall map here. And do you share parking with these guys, or is there zero parking on your property?
There's very little parking. So the bottom left, kind of cutout of the building,
Yeah.
if you will, that's kind of the only designated parking for my lot. It is pretty tight. It's kind of unfortunate how it is. It's just how things come together with really old downtowns. Previously, the Miltons owned all three of these buildings.
Yeah.
So I think the shared use of parking was more acceptable. Now that it's been split and there are separate owners for all three buildings, it's a little tight, but
Okay.
doing the best we can.
Okay. Yeah. So all right. So you guys don't share the parking. That was one of my questions.
Yeah. I mean, if someone else pulls in for an hour to go get the haircut, I'm not going to go chase them down to tell them to move and vice versa. But we try and keep it. Have people parking on the lots for the lots that they're going to.
Gotcha. Okay.
So one of my concerns, Matt, was that, hypothetically, if the ice cream place sets out some tables, or even some of your tenants use that, my concern is a safety issue of kids running from that area into the road. Is there any thoughts on maybe putting up a nice, 4-foot decorative fence approved by the design advisory board?
I'm certainly
Like
open to that. I think a similar thought that I had was maybe some planters, the half whiskey barrels. I think there's one in the corner now, maybe 4 or 5 of those to help delineate that edge. It's not going to physically prevent people from kind of just running out. But yeah, I'm open to stuff like that. I think a fence might, because it's permanent, it might be a little more constricting. But again, I'm open to hearing, your guys' input.
Yeah,
I think there's some nice options out there. I mean, you don't want to certainly. I mean, you're right in your dead point center for the town.
Right.
And it's nice to be able to pull up from Route 80 and look across the street and see that nice area.
Yeah, it's been a tough couple of years with COVID and having some issues with tenants, but I'm finally getting out of that hole, and I'm looking forward to making a lot of updates to the property. I mean, that was what really attracted me to buying this property. I've owned it for just about 3 years now. So it's definitely a very key spot here in Deep River. I actually do have some painters coming out giving me quotes currently, so I'm looking to paint the building as well. thinking like a dark, maybe a little darker than the Compass Rose building, something in that light gray family.
Yeah.
So that'll be forthcoming as well.
Good. I'm really pleased that you're taking that into consideration. The other thought I had with that, with some type of barrier fence, again, something tastefully done,
Mhm.
would prevent someone while you're not there for possibly thinking that that's parking, jumping the curb and jumping up there and parking. And then it
Right.
turns in-
That's a good point as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in general, I'm certainly open to all kinds of those things. I mean, bollards might be an option too. Again, that helps with the parking, doesn't help so much with, if
Right.
safety is concerned. I from the safety perspective of kids running out in the street, I feel like that, from my perspective, is not a huge concern because you do have a lot of sidewalks around, a lot of bigger areas, across the street. And down Main Street, the sidewalk's a little bit wider and the other retail spaces are able to use that. Hopefully people are driving slow and kids aren't jumping out, but.
Would you say people are gonna drive slow?
Well, theoretically on Main Street, we hope that, that people are moving slowly and looking out for pedestrians. You could run off the sidewalk into the road too, but.
I think your idea with the wine barrels is a good idea, but inside a fence, it could create a really cool, intimate little kind of garden setting,
Sure.
which would balance off the property, pulling
Yeah.
the landscape. out a little bit.
Absolutely open to discussing those. What's the best way to kind of have that discussion from a design perspective? Is it, right here now in the meeting, or is there maybe a smaller group that's interested in that kind of stuff, or what's the best way for me to move forward?
So if you get approval from us, and it sounds like Mike's pushing you to design advisory, which I was going to suggest because you are on Main Street. So we'd give your approval, with a condition that you go to design advisory. It's a smaller group of people. If we can get to the chair's name, and they'll just sit and go, yeah, wine barrels are fine. They have to be painted brown and not red.
Sure.
That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So
No, certainly happy and open to all that kind of stuff. I want to be in keeping with Main Street and everything else that everyone else is doing. So one quick other thing about what this area is going to look like. I believe in a year, maybe a year and a half, the state DOT is putting in new traffic signals. I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with that, but so the pole for the signal that you see on the corner of the building is moving into this patio area a little bit.
Yep.
So what I would anticipate happening is that when that project does come along, that I'm gonna request that through that project, the state kind of, if they do have to take some of that patio space, it expands back a little bit. Just a little food for thought. I don't know exactly where they are in the schedule and what's going to happen, but there will be some changes. I anticipate the patio growing with that or changing.
right. All right.
Matt, I appreciate you being conscientious of downtown and, you being a real entrance point to town.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Just one quick comment from me, if that's okay.
Yeah, fire away.
Hey, Matt, town staff here, Steve Natick. I sent you an email on Thursday, just requesting that you submit the application form and the fee.
Sure.
I was just hoping you could follow up with that and just touch base with us next week, get that submitted.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just wanted to make sure you ended up at the meeting tonight, so we got you submitted, but
Right.
just make sure we get that.
Yeah,
done.
I can deliver all that stuff on Monday if that's okay.
Yeah, John will be there first
Okay.
thing in the morning.
Great. Yeah, happy to do that.
Thank you.
I got a question for you then, Steve. If he doesn't have the application, can we approve this or do we have to bump it a month?
I would bump this a month
Okay.
because the application form wasn't actually submitted
Okay.
and the fee wasn't submitted, unfortunately.
Okay. All right.
But that should give him time to go to design review.
Right.
Question mark, so that maybe if he goes through them in the next month, we'll all have a better idea of what he plans.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. I was hoping to jump on this sooner than later because Deep River Ice is opening this Saturday and it's kind of their big opening day. And I was hoping to get things squared away so they can have a good season this year. But I understand the considerations with the design committee as well. So maybe those things will kind of fall in line with timing.
Yeah, in the meantime, I think if you want, the state has extended their special act for outdoor dining for another year. So
Okay,
if you want, me and John can set you up with a temporary permit for outdoor dining, you know, if you wanted to have a couple of tables.
sure.
And that would be through administrative approval. That wouldn't be through the commission.
Okay, that'd be great.
So yeah, we can talk on Monday.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it.
Thanks. All right,
Thank you, Matt.
so that's postponed. All right, thank you. And moving on to number 8, old business, the recreational cannabis policy. Everybody have a chance to go through that and read that?
No, I didn't see
No,
it.
I did not. I didn't see anything.
I didn't either.
Okay, well, I guess we're gonna have to, if nobody's read it, we're gonna have to bump that another month too.
Can you brief us a little bit on it? I'm sorry, I actually looked again today to make sure I had everything and I didn't see it this morning.
We threw it in today, so that's probably
Oh,
why.
okay.
Gotcha. All right, so quickly, so back in November, we knew that the state was coming forward with allowing recreational cannabis and growing and multi-cultivation. And we put the moratorium in place while we took a survey. And the survey overwhelmingly agreed that Deep River would like that use allowed here. So now we're tasked with coming up with regulations to do that. Picking a zone and all that happy stuff. So it looks like Steve went ahead and put together regulations in the background from the American Planning Association and, some of the districts that you would think it would go into place. So, I mean, we would have to accept this, set a public hearing, go through that whole rigmarole. And, I'm assuming we're going to get people at the public hearing, asking questions and move forward with that. So if you guys, if you're comfortable with just setting the public hearing, because we're going to have to do that anyway, and read this in your free time and have questions and all that stuff. And I can throw it up on the screen if you guys want to eyeball it real quick.
Would be good, yeah, if we could eyeball it.
That's not the right one.
I have a question. When does the moratorium end? Is it June?
I believe so, yes. So quickly, this is the background. I should just throw this in an email too while you guys are just sitting here. But this is the background. We'll do that.
I have a question. Does this pretty much outline 2 different facilities, or should we all be thinking that this is one facility? So it would be if they want to grow operation, sure, they can also apply for a retail. Or are we simply saying like, we're going to entertain one or the other, or both separately?
So all 3 are separate. So we'll have, I'm just going to go through the one that the district's part of it. So and this isn't set in stone. This is just options to start. So the village commercial zone, cannabis retail stores are allowed by special exception. And in the neighborhood commercial district, cannabis retail stores, cannabis microcultivators, and cannabis product manufacturers, all allowed by special exception. So each zone would have their own of the 3 uses, 1, 2, or 3, or all 3.
Okay.
So again, we'd have to weed through this, look at the zone map, go, hey, it does work here, it doesn't work there. So I have a feeling this is going to be more than one public hearing too.
I would imagine.
So,
Yeah, the types of establishments are basically broken down by the Department of Consumer Protection and the new law that they passed. And basically the zoning regs that the model zoning regs that we put together basically take those exact same definitions, because the facility types are not going to change, and then plug them directly into the zoning code.
Yeah, I think it's all good, but the more information that we have, and the more information that we can provide to the community who's already obviously in favor of this, this could hopefully be something that's, not a big point of contention for the town. But you know, we've had bigger arguments over smaller things. So,
Right, I was just gonna say, yeah, everybody voted one way and then we'll get to the meeting and no one will want it. So it's exactly how this goes most of the time.
but yeah, someone
that's the
will be
thing.
tarred and feathered.
There wasn't very many people that responded to the survey. From
Yeah,
what
so I mean, I don't think it's an accurate
Definitely.
depiction of the town's.
Correct.
All they did was accept
But-
it. Can't hear me. All they did was accept it for
So-
public review next.
I'm sorry, who's, I thought somebody was talking to us. So I think, I don't have the number in front of me, but I think it was 600 people did respond, which doesn't, I mean, isn't the whole town.
Are we still under the impression that the surrounding towns have tabled it for the future?
Yes, yes. And I also, I don't think, to be honest with you, I think, I mean, this is, let's say we put it in the industrial district, and this is just my opinion. I still don't, I'm not positive we'd get anybody. I think most people would go to either Middletown or Saybrook, you know, a much bigger town that we're looking to open this. I do think somebody who would be interested in doing this is probably a cultivator. So somebody in Winthrop, you know, who's got 80 acres is going to want to grow this stuff. I think we're going to see more of that than anything else.
But no, I would say even the same, and I know we're just spitballing here, but
Right.
I don't think this is going to open any floodgates for the mafia to come to Deep River. It's just going to simply, you know, somebody out in the industrial park absolutely is where I would, probably the only place that my vote would go.
Right.
And then like, look at what happened with the brewery. I mean, that place is, in the beginning when they were approved, you know, it was mixed feelings, and now that's become an actual place that people gather.
Right.
So I don't have any, I mean, who am I, but I don't know. I don't think it's going to be, if anybody did, if we approved anything, I certainly don't think this is Deep River is going to become a hotbed of marijuana activity.
Well, you only get one retail establishment anyway. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like there's going to be multiple. If somebody did come here and go into the industrial district, there'd only be one store.
Yeah, I do remember that from when this was all originally brought
Yeah.
up, and that's a fantastic safety net.
So, but anyway, if you guys are okay with that, we can set the public hearing and get everybody's input.
Yeah, can you just email, did you email?
I did,
that?
I emailed it. Yep, I emailed this to everybody just now.
It's in the OneDrive folder too.
Can we
So if we
talk
approve-
about it at another meeting? Like talk about it in May and then set the public hearing perhaps in June? I just would like
yeah.
to go over it and talk about appropriate zones
Yeah,
ourselves first.
but okay, before anybody else, yeah, that's fine with me. I mean, you know, we can kind of eyeball it now, but because I just having read this, I hate that you guys haven't read it. So maybe I'll back off and we'll wait till the next month.
Or
'Cause-
at least put the zones up and maybe talk about it that way.
Yeah, so but quickly, just looking through this, I just mentioned Winthrop. And my thought is to add, you know, a cannabis cultivator to Winthrop. And that would be the R80 zone. You know, we're looking more downtown than anything else. I think I'll pick on, you know, maybe how about Ron? So Ron wants to turn his farm into a marijuana place, so. That's my thought, is that somebody in Winthrop is gonna wanna do this.
The thing is that I'm not understanding completely is that agriculture is separate from the cultivator's license. So you can't do it as a agriculture under the state's definition of agriculture. It has to be a separately organized use. I think
It's its own thing entirely.
I may have included it on the first page.
So I was gonna say it's this page. So a manufacturer is a person or entity licensed in the state of Connecticut to own and operate and place of business that acquires cannabis extraction manufacturers. A cannabis grow space, a portion of a premises owned and controlled by a producer, cultivator, or micro cultivator that utilizes for the cultivation, growing, or propagation of cannabis plants. Sorry, I was thinking grow space more than a manufacturer.
Yeah, if you scroll up to the prior page, on the
Right.
bottom there, it says cannabis production is not agriculture under State Bill 1201. It does not qualify as agriculture
Mhm.
as defined by the general statutes. So anybody who has like a farm,
Yep.
a general farm couldn't apply for a commercial license unless it was allowed in the zone and they built a facility that met all the criteria.
I
It
agree
has
with
to,
Marion.
does it have to be, go ahead, sorry.
I agree with you, Marion. I'd like to spend some time with the board and
Okay.
Steve, educating ourselves a little better before we go out to the public. I want to make sure that we have have a handle on this before we move forward.
So how about my thought is instead of push, because I mean, I don't want to run out of time either. Are you guys open to a special meeting just to discuss this?
I am.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I am.
I'm open to it.
Okay. Let's look at a date here. And anybody have any ideas of when they can do this?
Not next week.
Let's see. I don't even know what next week looks like. I'm afraid to look at my calendar anymore.
Yeah.
Let's see. And we could do the 5th of May, Cinco de Mayo, bring margaritas and talk about politics. Jesus.
What day of the
Well,
week
if we
is?
meet in person, maybe we can have margaritas. I
There you
don't know.
go. So it would be the 5th of May is Thursday.
Yeah, it works for me.
I think so far it works for me as well.
Okay, Stan?
That's the work for me.
Okay.
Yeah, I have no problem.
5th. Alex, 5th, you're good with that, so, all right.
Yeah,
So I guess we'll do that. I'll give you guys time to read this. I'll get more updated on what I should know.
Will John or Steve be able to join us?
Just gonna check my calendar real quick. We're thinking a night meeting, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep, I can attend.
Great.
I think based on the schedule, John should be able to be there too.
Thank you, Steve.
No
Okay.
problem.
All right, that works. All right, so we have to vote on that, or I mean, we're just having a special meeting. This is not my forte. Hey, Steve, do I have to vote on this, or can we just do it?
I don't think it would hurt.
All right. Looking for a motion to have a special meeting May 5th for discussion on recreational cannabis policy.
Second.
So moved.
Everybody talked at the same, who moved and who seconded?
Is it
I
7 p.m.?
moved it.
Yes, 7 p.m.
Okay.
Stan, that was you?
Yes, for me.
Okay, looking for a second.
Second.
Thank you, Mike. Marion,
Yes,
Alex?
yes.
All right, we'll see you guys on May 5th. All right, on to reports.
Quick question.
Shoot.
Do we still want to set the public hearing for the May meeting to give us time to notice it appropriately after so you'll have a 2-week window to review, have the special meeting, and then a 2-week window for further review and thoughts before the public hearing. Then it gives us time to set it, notice it.
I like that. Guys,
Just a thought, food for thought.
Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately we have to do it, so
Yeah.
planning the schedule out now, that's a good idea, Steve.
all right, so Mike, you just made that motion for May 19th?
Yes.
Second?
Will this be posted to the public before then, though? Like, are you gonna post this actual regs? Or is it just gonna be for?
Yeah, we'll have to post it and we'll have to send it to the Council of Governments, and we'll do a full two runnings of a legal notice in the newspaper, and the agenda will be posted ahead of time online too.
Steve, who will present at that meeting, at that public meeting?
Me or John could present the application.
do we have time to actually change the regulation if we don't like it or like something about it before you have to publish? I don't have a calendar in front of me, so Usually the paper wants some lead time.
So,
Yeah, I don't think that's an issue. The only thing that would impact would be the CROG referral if it substantially changes in between. But I'm anticipating, and I'm sure you are as well, that this application would run more than one public hearing, so that wouldn't be an issue.
Okay.
Okay.
all right. Still looking for a second.
I'll
Second.
Thank you, Marion. I forgot who made the motion. Oh, Mike made the motion. So Stan
Yes.
and Alex.
Yes.
Right. All right, now we're moving on to reports. I think Steve's hiding something in the ZEO report. He wanted to put that off for a minute there. What do you got, Steve?
Not much new. I performed a bunch of zoning compliance inspections a couple weeks ago. I investigated 140 West Bridge Street, I want to say. It's right next to the Route 9 overpass on West Bridge. I think it's West
Yes.
Bridge. That's the road. It's a kind of like a junkyard hoarder property.
Yeah.
Received a complaint about it. I think it's been there for years and years. It's not really in the public eye, but the neighbors that live adjacent to it have been looking at it all winter. So I sent out a notice of violation for that about a week ago. And then I also received a couple complaints about 411 Main Street, which is it's a property with an existing multifamily house, and there's a couple of bucket trucks and other vehicles and stuff over there. It doesn't look like they have a site plan approval, which would be required for the use in the zone. I forget the zone, what it is there, but that was a notice of violation that was sent out last week. I did inspect 90 West Bridge Street, which came up at the last meeting. I inspected that on March 30th. And I drafted an email to follow up with the homeowner there. I guess he had conversation with John where he set a plan to move forward with some actions that he had desired to have done by the end of this coming month. So I'm going to be following up at the end of this month and sending him an email if things are not looking good. I don't suspect they will. That's pretty much it on the zoning
Okay.
enforcement front.
Quick question, if I may. Steve, so take for instance, 411 Main Street. What's the procedure that the homeowner or the owner has to follow with you?
They either have to remove the vehicles to remove the operation of the business with all the commercial vehicles to bring the property in compliance, or they have to come before you guys and get a site plan approval and then improve the property according to the approved plan. I'm anticipating that this gentleman may appeal to the zoning board of appeals, or he may come in with a site plan application, but I'm not anticipating that being within the next 2 months.
Do we have any time limits on these, or how long can they run away with this?
Each of them are usually 30 days. So we usually do a 30-day notice of violation, 30 to 45 days. And then we'll follow up with a cease and desist or a cease and correct order if it's not corrected. Or if we see that the homeowner or the home property owner is making progress with regard to the violation and the compliance status, then we try and set a timeline with them and, make a plan of action for compliance. And, we always have the option to up it to the next level if things start going south.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Anybody else want to ask anything of Steve or?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
It seems like let's for instance, the two guys on West Bridge, everybody in town knows that, both of those families been in disrepair for almost a millennium at this point, with no end in sight. So I personally don't care one way or the other. It's small charm. You can chalk it up to that. But at a certain point in time, where does the repercussion come in that actually forces, the homeowners in those areas? They've got a very valid concern with property value, this, that, the third. health and safety, everything. But it just seems like, I feel like people that in the town that have brought these concerns, in front of us and whatnot, at this point, they're losing faith in the fact that anything will actually be done. So can we impose anything? Can we do any sort of monetary penalties? I mean, what's the next step when these people inevitably do not adhere to any of the requests made?
Yes,
Can I jump in for a sec, Steve? Because I
please.
got schooled on this, so I'm excited to throw this out there. So this just happened recently, and as it was explained to me, is you can call the health department, get them involved, and they will actually get the housing authority involved, and then the housing authority can provide services to help clean that property up. And apparently, Deep River Housing Authority is even willing to go out as far as to help like paint and clean up, and there's volunteers that are willing to do that. So that's my little bit of input, and I'll throw Steve back.
Thank you.
Because
I
he
think
knows
I'm going
more
to look
about
into that immediately because, yeah, I think that is an excellent point. I'm going to look into that immediately.
Yeah, I had no idea, and then somebody explained it to me. I was like, get the heck out of here. So yeah, it was good information to have. So I figured I didn't know I was going to be using it so quickly.
Yeah, I think.
I
Go ahead.
was just going to say, in my experience with the health department, unfortunately, you have to have critters or a lot of garbage that is an actual health concern. Just plain junk doesn't usually have that same level of concern.
Well,
I
was gonna go ahead.
The housing authority might be a good one.
I was curious about like cars leaking oil and that kind of stuff, because that affects the groundwater.
That is, and that may also be something.
That's why it's health, yeah.
But usually it's animals, vectors, rats, or garbage.
No kidding. All right.
Although you could be real nasty and call DEP on the oil.
Gotcha. See?
And they don't mess around.
No.
And that's expensive.
Yeah.
If they order.
Regardless of all of these, they're all good intentions. Steve, I think as a small town who's trying to move out of some past reputations, I think we ought to proceed and have a heavy hand on violators, because as the adjoining property owners are feeling the heat, their hands are tied. I mean, and I feel bad for people like that. I wouldn't want to have a neighbor like that.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna take a little easier seat there. Is maybe the housing authority is the way to go because they're not as heavy-handed. Let's say these are elderly people who just can't maintain. I mean, you don't want to throw a bunch of fines at them and then they can't pay that either.
That's definitely my concern with at least one of these instances, and
Yeah.
I am looping in the social services director to try and see if we can hit this from multiple angles, because I think it is somebody who's definitely elderly, needs help, is not capable of taking care of themselves or their property, has a mental illness, obviously, by the state of the property. So yeah, I'm going to look into seeing how we can hit that from multiple angles. I did refer it to them. I haven't had any follow-up by them because it was just last week.
Yeah.
But I don't believe Deep River has a citation ordinance.
No.
Tony, correct me if I'm wrong.
I don't. We don't have one yet.
Yeah, but I mean, the next step after that, these administrative and remedies is kind of legal action in a lot of instances, and that would probably involve the Board of Selectmen authorizing that. I'm not sure how it works in Deep River, but that's how it is in a lot of towns. And there has to be a willingness by the town to possibly undertake a long and expensive journey for something like a zoning enforcement action to go to court.
Yeah. And the other one I was thinking too is I know they get the fire department involved, because if it wasn't safe to enter the building, if there was a hoarding situation, the fire department would get involved.
I have a question just to wrap up. So obviously that it would become the town's burden through some sort of legal injunction, money, taxpayers, all that stuff. Is there any way to circumvent anything? Let's take the the mentally ill elderly guy out of the equation.
Right.
About the Main Street, where they're obviously running a commercial business out of, you know, a residential property. And let's take the other 91, which I think anybody that's lived in town long enough understands is several things, and none of them have to do with mental illness or elderly. There's no elderly component. What can we do in this board, or what can we suggest to other boards to sort of get ahead of the curve on this, so this doesn't just continue to be, you know, the town's problem until the taxpayers want to pony up money and then also be in court for 3 years? There got to be something. I mean, other towns, look, Essex doesn't have this, for instance. Well, maybe they do. I'm sorry, I'm so new to this, but
No,
I'm sure they do.
I'm saying this because I was zoning enforcement agent in Essex for almost 8 years, and we dealt with 3 properties that were horrible. And they're really, we looked into a blight ordinance. There's a lot of technical stuff that you have to follow for a blight ordinance. To find under zoning that also, there's a bunch of procedures. Now, I haven't followed it for the last 10 years, so maybe the legislature has changed some of those. But that wasn't easy to go through, especially for a small town. It is a very frustrating thing. Unless somebody wants to get a building permit or a zoning compliance permit because they're selling their house, that's the easy time for zoning enforcement, because you have to sign off on the zoning permit prior to the building permit or certificate of occupancy. But otherwise, it's hard, and there is no easy answer.
Yeah, that's why those little bits of info, I was like, oh, the health department can get involved, fire department. It's good to know all that stuff. I had no idea any of that was even available. So hopefully that helps.
Housing may be the best one, because again, junk does provide some safety. But again, it's in small towns, it's really hard.
Yeah, we'll look into that. I think maybe the only option that you have, you know, as a commission, and this is not a direct enforcement action, this would be considering what types of uses are popping up illegally and figure out how to make the zoning regulations or the site plan approval process a little bit more accommodating for those uses, or maybe figure out other properties, other zones where they can fit in a little bit easier if say, you know, they're not allowed currently in certain areas. That would be my only recommendation there. But, you know, it is just part of the nature of the business too. These things they kind of happen everywhere.
All right. That being said, anything from the attorney? All right, hearing none. Engineer, assuming we haven't anything to refer to them, so nothing. Chairman, I don't have anything. Sorry, guys. I know you love to hear me talk. Budget, I know that's coming up for a vote, and you know, they heard our spiel about the plan of conservation development, so just waiting for that to get approved. Payment of bills, I'm not aware of any. Steve, you not hiding any? Sounds good to me. And with that, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
We'll make the
Motion
motion
to
to
adjourn.
adjourn.
I
Stan,
think Stan got it. Looking for a second? All right, I'll second it.
Second.
Thanks, Mike. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yes, you guys have a good night, and I will see you on May 5th.
May 5th. Have a good night.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you,
Have a good
everyone.
night.
Good night. Leave me